Hi, so I did this video managing images in WordPress part 1 a few weeks back, and I wanted to explore it a bit further. If you haven't seen this video, I'd probably advise watching it before watching this one. I'll probably be using some of the things I've described in the first video. Most people are going to need to use images on their website, and it's not that they're difficult, it's just they're slightly confusing. There's a lot to it. So if I have this image here, if I right click upon the image to come bring up the properties on Windows 7, so your computer might be slightly different. The first thing I see is it's 2.6 megabytes. Now in web terms that's enormous. If I put that onto a website, it's probably about 10 or 20 times too big, in terms of its file size. File size and size on disk are essentially the same thing. This is the file size. It's how many bytes or megabytes or kilobytes. If you ever see an M, it's probably bad news for the web. But every time you have a camera, if you have a decent camera, this came off my SLR, and it's a fairly cheap SLR, so it's a very small file size by SLR standards. That could easily be 20 times. Sorry, it could be easily 20 megabytes. Also, this is a JPEG, so I want to make sure that I'm using a JPEG. There are instances where you can use PNGs, but for photography is what I'm mainly focused on here. It's mainly going to be a JPEG. Anyway, this is the file size, and that is the kind of important one. But if I go to the Details tab in Windows 7, it'll give me the physical size, which is the number of pixels across. Now, the largest websites that are out at the moment that I've seen are about maybe, like YouTube there is pretty wide. I'd say it's maybe 1300 pixels wide from there to there. That's the width of the website. This is just irrelevant. So this is maybe 1000 pixels at a guess wide. So you're never going to want to use more than, at the moment, you're probably not going to want something that's that much bigger than 1000. So while you can dump that straight, into WordPress, WordPress will completely handle it for you. It has a fairly good system of doing it. There's no real need for you to keep it there. And this is this is the image. So it's a portrait image, so it's taller than it is wide. So it's actually 3,600 tall. So it's an enormous image. I mean, the web browser is about the size of a guitar or something. So you can, like I said, you can put it straight into WordPress. Better still, you could reduce down the physical size. By reducing the physical size, it's going to reduce down the file size as well, which is what we want. But it's not going to be enough, because we're gonna. I'll illustrate in Photoshop. Now, in the ideal world, you would do this in Photoshop, but you can do this in lots of other programs that don't cost money. I don't actually know the names of any of them, but there's also I'm sorry, I do. There's GIMP is one that's free, and there's a lot of others like Sketch for the Mac, which is only like €100. But there's also these online things. This one is only a compressor, but there's ones, because we're going to do two operations. We're going to compress it, and we're also going to resize it. But there's one resizer, I think it's called. Yeah, maybe I haven't used it, but there's free online picture resizers. There's tons of them here. So if you're going to do lots, you'd want a tool like GIMP or Photoshop. But I'm not, excuse me, this is not a tutorial on how to use Photoshop. It's just to illustrate very quickly. I'm not even going to explain what I'm doing here, but you'll see that basically this is my original. This is a different type of size, so don't worry about that. What I can do here is decide, let's suppose I want it to be 1000 pixels high for the web, and the first thing it's done is it's reduced that jump down from 270 down to 40. But then I can also, I had this the wrong way around. So that should have been up like that, right? Yeah. In any case, like I said, I'm not explaining how to do this. There's lots of tutorials for how to do this. But the idea is I've made the size smaller here, and it made the file size smaller. But really, it's at 100% quality. That's what I'm trying to get at here. So you have to make the size smaller somehow, but you also have to compress it. So as I bring this down, you see this is going to go down smaller as well, but also the quality, if you compare this to the original, and this is the compressed version. So I'll just bring it down to 50. I brought the quality down, but I didn't really notice much. I'll bring it down a lot, and you can see it's starting to distort around his face. And actually, you would never ever bring it down anywhere near that bad. There's no need most of the time. These are just presets to this, so I usually find around 80 gives you a pretty good size. So this is it's a large image, like 1000 by 750 is large, and 269K is about what I'd expect for that size of an image. This size of an image is something. Actually, this is the portrait version, but the landscape version you might even use it in a slider or something like that, and that'd be quite acceptable size-wise for that. But anyway, like I said, I'm not explaining how to use this. It's just to explain that I want to bring down the quality so it'll fit on the web. But I am going to save this so you can see the difference. So I'm just going to save this to my desktop. Compressed. Anyway, the process I use there is more or less going to be sort of similar with any of these programs. It's the same kind of rough idea. You just pick a new pixel size, and you also pick a new compression level or quality. And here's my compressed version. So if I was to preview that and preview this, they're going to be, to all intents and purposes, they're going to be the same thing. But this is the, sorry. So this is the original, this is the compressed. You can barely tell the difference between them there, but if I right click on the compressed, it's 272K, which is 272,000, and this is 2.7M, 2.07M, which is basically 2 million. So it's down to 1/8 the original size. But you could bring in the large image straight off your camera, straight into WordPress. It's just you'd be wasting a lot of space, especially if you use a lot of photographs. And also the compression is that you've gotten that advantage in Photoshop or whatever other program, whether it's an online website or whatever that would compress them. It's ultimately going to make your website go well, potentially a lot faster. And as well as that, if you've got a very good camera, you could be looking at maybe 10 times the size of an image on a very good camera. So really, it's more of a warning to somebody who has a very high quality camera. But normally, if that's you, you probably are familiar with using Photoshop anyway. So if I just drag that image, the one that I've compressed there, and tweaked into WordPress, it's going to create. What it's actually done for me is it's created a number of different files. So I've got this file here, and if I was to look on the server, it's imported this file into the server, and it's made a copy of this file by shrinking down in this case it'll be the height to 1024, and I can't remember what size I made it. Okay, well, it was 1000, so it probably didn't even make a large size image for me. But if I had made that to be 1500, then it would have imported in the 1500 one. It would have reduced the height of it and made a second copy with a height of 1024, and whatever not 1024, but whatever appropriate width it would have been, since the width is smaller than the height in this case. Done the same for the medium size, and this one is actually cropped, so it's just cropping a chunk out of it of 150 by 150. But if I wanted to do more work on that, since I've come into I brought it into the media library, I'll just go into the media library and open up the image It's giving me some information over here, and I can delete it from there. But I can press edit image. I explained all that stuff in the last video. So I've got the, rotate left, rotate, or sorry, clockwise, counterclockwise, flip horizontal and flip vertical, and it's got undo there. It's got a scaling system over here, which honestly I don't really see the point of. It doesn't do what I would expect it to do anyway. It does scale the image, but it sort of leaves you in a bit of limbo behind the scenes. You're much better off to scale the image outside of this. But you can scale it here if you want. It's just a matter of typing in whatever dimensions you want and pressing scale and updating the image. I won't explain behind the scenes why that's a bit confusing to me, but suffice to say I wouldn't really advise using it in the ideal world. But there's a crop system over here, which just suppose you didn't need to resize the image. Suppose it was the right size initially, and suppose you didn't see a problem with the file size, so you didn't really need to compress it. But you wanted to crop it, or you already had it in WordPress, and suppose this guy here was bugging you, and you wanted to crop him out. You can crop in WordPress pretty successfully. The only thing is you'd be forever wondering how do I get a crop, but it's simple. You just click and drag on the image, and then you've got this this tool where you can select the area that you want to crop. It's fairly obvious to know how to see how to use it, and you just set it how you want, and once it's done you press this button. You can also set up the selection to be a particular size. If I wanted it to be 500 by 800 or something like that, then it's going to be like this, and I can drag it around. I don't think there's any way of holding on. No, okay, I don't think you can go there. The aspect ratio, I can't get it working at all. I think it's buggy. I could be mistaken, or maybe it'll be fixed by the time. But if you wanted a 16:9, you'd have to do the maths on it, or a 4:3, or whatever you wanted. And anyway, when it's done like that, the only thing you need to pay attention to is the all image sizes thumbnail, or all except thumbnail. So there's the thumbnail. So I'm just gonna. I don't really know why you would use the last one, but one reason I might want to use the first one is I'll just do all image sizes for a start. Leave it like that, and I'll press crop, and it's going to crop out the guy. He hasn't been cropped here, but that might be because I haven't pressed save. Okay. Yeah, he's cropped out now. And here's an example of why you might want to use the thumbnail. So if I just go out again and make a new thumbnail size, thumbnails are square typically. So I suppose that's my new thumbnail. I say I'll apply this just to the thumbnail. And now I'll crop this and press save. And go back into it again. And now my image is cropped as I wanted, and my thumbnail has not got the guy's orange head was cut off. I don't know whether I pointed at it or not. So that's that, and that's more or less how to edit images inside WordPress. Okay.